Alrighty guys, and welcome back to another LEGO set review from BrickByBrick, and today we have set number 10216, the Winter Village Bakery, from 2010. This was the installment into the Winter Village line back then, and this is one of the smaller ones from the line, $54.99 for 687 pieces, which, isn't a bad size, but, it's smaller than most of the regular buildings. Comes with 7 minifigures, and yeah, that's pretty much all the general statistics. But if you look at it just here, there's kind of a lot of stuff here for a $55 set. And, a lot of smaller builds that still, look good. So let's start. I guess we'll go smallest to biggest. While they all come together really well, the set does consist of 3 major scenes, I'd say. And this is the first of them. It's basically a little Christmas tree stand. However, it kind of doesn't stand very well on its own because it doesn't actually come with any Christmas trees. It would have been nice if they included just a couple extra trees. I know it already includes a couple, and you'll see those in a minute. But first off, there is this little kid with an apple, which we'll take a look at with the figures later. But he is supposed to be like guiding the horse, kind of, or feeding the horse for this little carriage, or yeah, I guess it's still technically a carriage, and it was not snapped correctly into place, but now that's fixed. The horse is, a standard brown horse from back in the day. It's got the one articulation point, not the legs, and you can remove this. I don't believe the set came with a brick to replace that, which is kind of a shame. Most sets do nowadays, but come with a brick to replace the thing when the horse isn't being ridden. But in this set there was none, which is it's something that could have been added, but I don't think it was too bad. This horse does only appear in 4 different sets though, so good way to get this particular design. The carriage does turn, and the wheels, I like these old wheel style pieces, the classic wagon wheels. I think that they look really nice, but you can turn it back and forth. For some reason mine's getting caught a little in the middle, but I think that's just the gap between the two. I don't think they're both perfectly pressed down, which But the sides are made with these pieces. I don't know what they're actually meant to be used for, but they look really good in this way. And it's got a little wreath on the back. This is studs upside down construction. And you could angle these all the way in, and then it would be perfectly square, but I think it looks good when they're clicked out one click. And it comes with one large tree in the back. Other than that, it's really open, because this is all it's supposed to do. You can fit another one in here if you really try. You can turn one the other way around and then fit 2. And there's a seat for him. He has an axe and a whip to use to get the horse to move. The little Christmas tree stand here, though, is really nice looking. It's very small, super limited in size. There's only a 1x4 area for him to stand on, but he can, and he looks decent while in there. He kind of has to cover his mouth. He's always drinking hot chocolate when he is standing in here, but I think that that's alright. It takes up a 2x6 stud, footprint, and has some tools for him to use, a little broom and a shovel. And I like the pattern for the roof. I think it looks good. And the stickered sign here shows the Christmas trees are really expensive. $100 for a tiny Christmas tree, and $200 for one of these. So, but you can take this out and you can set up a couple Christmas trees around this if you have a couple extra. I think that it's a good-looking little scene, and I think it contributes quite a bit to this set, even though, it's not even close to the main focus. The second major scene here is this little ice skating rink, which I think is a pretty decent little build. This is the only attempt we've gotten at I guess there was a little limited edition seasonal gift with purchase set that was an ice rink, but I think that this one looks really nice. It uses these transparent light blue 6x or 8x8 plates. Yeah, it's 8x8. It uses 2 of them, and you can tell you can see through them. Look, there's my hand. And I think that gives it a decent look. It does kind of, the only negative of that is that it kind of depends on what kind of surface you put it on. You know, whether, or that changes the appearance. Because if you put it on this wooden surface, from above you can see, you kind of see some brown through there. I think maybe putting it on a black surface would be best in this situation, but this is completely just for, you know, no one would actually do this, but like if you put it on something like this, it kind of does not look that great. So maybe it would have been nice if they put either, I guess it would probably make most sense for them to put like a white base underneath here, make this whole thing 2 plates thick instead of, you know, just that one. But you know, it's I think that, hey, that would have added, you know, a couple of larger parts, could have potentially increased the price. So I think that for this, like using this many parts, this is pretty good. But you know, I do like the way the lights look. Also, there's an owl up here. It is one of the unprinted ones, which is kind of a shame. I would have liked to see one of the printed ones. It's got 2 more trees here. Again, you could, you know, cut these down. The set comes with an axe with this guy. So this guy, you know, would be the guy who cuts down the trees and brings them in. So he could, you know, you could have this guy come and cut these down, take them, transport them over to the Christmas tree stand if you wanted to. But they do also, you know, add a decent amount of greenery to this, so it's not so plain and white and boring. This is before the ice skate piece existed, so it does use these tooth plates with a transparent plate underneath them so that you can make your figures actually ice skating here. Because obviously if you just use the tooth plate, it can't stick onto these studs because, you know, there are more studs on, you know, next to it. So I think that that's a decent approximation of ice skates. Obviously the newer piece that is designed to do this is better, but I think that these are kind of cute, kind of funny. The little snowbank over here with this guy in it, though, I think is the most hilarious part of the set. You know, when I think of the Winter Village, this is one of the things that I love the most about it. Just the guy in the snowbank. I don't think we've ever seen anything else like any other guys in snowbanks before. But this is actually done with some upside down building and a clip, so it kind of just, you know, made into the snowbank. And his legs are just inserted into the bottom of one of these 2x2 inverted slopes. So, you know, I like it quite a bit. I think it's cool. You know, relatively memorable as far as the Winter Village goes. And then we also have this other kid with a camera, who does come with some black ice skates. He's just standing there. The worst part about this is that he, you know, is short, so the ice skates kind of don't actually do anything besides look like claws. Like, you can't really do as much with an ice skating kid as an ice skating adult because they're not, you know, articulated legs. Also, the one other thing to mention is there's a bench here, which, you know, the back kind of can fold. I think it looks a little awkward being so short, the back, and the bottom so wide, but, you know, for the most part, I think that this is a really decent little ice skating. And the bakery itself looks pretty nice, honestly. It's a kind of smaller building. It, you know, is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 studs wide. And the entire thing is only really about like 10 studs deep, so 17 by 10, and I guess technically 18, 19, 20, 21. Wait, that doesn't sound right, but you know, it's about 20 by 10, which is a little on the smaller side for Winter Village buildings again, but this is on the cheap side as well. 2 figures here. There's obviously a chef with a tray of cupcakes, which I like that little build. We'll take a look at that with the figures, and this little box of chocolates or something, box of pastries. This lamppost looks really great. You know, it's got a sticker on there for the sign, but it looks really good. And there's a tree here. Again, you could cut this down and, you know, with that, just throw it into the, the Christmas tree stand. There's a window behind there too, where you can kind of see into the counter. I think the worst part about this set is that it's kind of hard to get into the interior of this bakery. You can see there's some bread here. This is nearly impossible to get out, by the way, so I'm not going to. But you can, stand a customer in here. This is the only really customer accessible space. The rest is only for the baker. But, there's a counter in there. And there's some cakes underneath. These cakes are designed to be just removable, so you could sell those cakes. But you kind of have to use gravity for that. But, they're an interesting, colorful little build. And that is a printed cash register and money. There's a little stove here, which you're meant to use this little ore as, one of those things to put things in and take them out. I don't know what they're called, but like officially, because I'm not a baker. And this other little room is where the baker would, do some stuff. It's got the window display, which you can see best from the window. And around the sides, I like the, style of this. I think it looks good with the dark red and the, I forget what color this is, but whatever that color is, medium nougat, I think. And the window display looks really nice. There's some nice pastries in there, including a croissant piece. And there's a little torch or something on the front. I do like the design of the door. Look kind of old-timey, kind of classic. It looks a little awkward when swung open, but if you leave it closed, you'll never notice. The roof design is actually plates that are just dropped on these Technic parts actually back here. But I think that they get a good angle there, and it's nice to have two separate sections of roof because it kind of makes it look a little bit more interesting. The front does kind of hinge up to give it kind of a gutter, and the roof has kind of two little rooms which are hinted at by the little windows here and the lights in front. In the back it does have a little attic with which has a crate that's empty, and over here there's really nothing but a light brick, which does kind of illuminate the front display. It doesn't really work when it's light out, but that's pretty much all there is to the little bakery. But it looks good. It's a little small, but has what it needs to, and it does kind of have limited playable space inside, but it has everything that it really needs. Before we move on, I did want to give you a slightly better shot of what the light brick looks like. It really nicely illuminates the window display there. And you can kind of see stuff going on behind it, but really just the window display is the main thing. Mine isn't as bright as it used to be, because it's, running out of battery kind of, slowly but surely. But you can see also it kind of comes through this window a little bit. But, it's a light brick, it's kind of cool, and works better if it has brand new batteries. I need to find a place to buy just replacement batteries for these light bricks. So the first two figures are the baker and the customer. The customer has got, some standard parts. It's a relatively standard torso used in the city theme, and the face is very, very standard. Interesting thing is, the face on the box shows pretty much two of this face instead of that. But I do believe that in the instructions they're listed as different part numbers, so this just didn't render right in the instructions or something. She does get a little bit of back printing. The baker does not. However, the baker, also actually should probably show this again. This is a sticker, transparent back, so you can get some dust in there, which is kind of a shame, but it looks good, and it's a nice little package for her. And her hairpiece is, this typical female hair. Nothing special about it. The baker, though, I really like his little build for the cupcake tray. One's left not there so that he can actually hold on to it. But I think that works as, someone already took a cupcake because they're good. But I think that's a little clever build. But his torso print, is the standard baker torso. I think they introduced a new one recently, but, other than that, this was the standard. And he comes with this nice old guy face expression, got the beard in gray, and he comes with the chef's hat, which, is the typical chef's hat, but I really like the mold of it, so I am not upset to get another one. And, you know, for some people, they might not have any chefs, so, you know, the legs are unprinted, and she has a slope to represent her dress, but it's also not printed, so, you know. Two ice skating figures are, you know, again, relatively standard. This torso piece, you know, is not super rare. Her face is relatively common too, I believe, appearing in quite a few sets, mostly City. This guy has no printing on his torso or legs, so he's relatively plain. However, it's kind of uncommon to see, you know, just completely blank, unprinted minifigure parts nowadays. Of course, this was 2010, so things were a little bit different back then. It was slightly more common to see something like this, but, you know, still cool to have nowadays. The camera is a cool piece. And he actually has two facial expressions. One is nice and really happy, as you can see here. But the other side is really sad, and she actually has a scared expression too. Neither of them have back printing or printing on the legs. So, you know, that's a little bit, would have been nice to see, but it wasn't nearly as standard in 2010 to do stuff like that as it is nowadays. Both of these guys work for the Christmas tree company. That's, you know, kind of present here. He comes with the red mug, because those are cool. I like their torso prints. They're both actually relatively cool. I like how this guy has the shirt underneath. And this guy looks like he's wearing a sweater underneath the overalls. He has a very standard face. It's kind of like the modern version of the classic smile. And this guy, I like his glasses and beard. I think it looks good. He comes with, you know, a police hat, kind of. That's what they were originally used for, I believe, that mold. But in black, usually they're more common in white nowadays with police. Or at least in this 2010-ish time period. Nowadays, they use the brand new mold. And this guy has like a robber's hat, but, you know, just wearing it as like a nice warm winter hat. Again, they don't have printing on their legs, and back printing, they don't have that either. So, you know, not super detailed, but I'm not super bothered by it. And last, I think this guy's probably the most exciting. He's not exclusive, no exclusive parts, but I think that, you know, he's kind of more visually interesting. Because he comes with this hood piece. This is the old version of the hood before the Series 5 Ice Fisherman came around. And it's dark blue. It's got kind of a collar down here that covers the torso. So it kind of covers his plaid printing, which I really like that torso, so kind of doesn't make sense in this context, because you wouldn't be wearing a plaid jacket with a hood, so it's like the hood is a completely separate thing. But, you know, there is a little bit of printing on there, actually, to, you know, make it look not completely white. And I think that that's really, it's nice, it's subtle, but it looks really good, you know. And this is just printed on there. It's not, you know, molded, so the fur on the inside still looks blue, which is, you know, but that's a nice mold for its day. I like the new one better still, but, you know, he does have short legs, and he comes with an apple to feed the horse. This guy is an exclusive, but I think he's probably the most wintry and one of the nicer figures in the set. So overall, I think that this is a pretty nice set as a whole, especially for the original price of $55 US. Nowadays, it goes for quite a bit more than that, so I don't know if I would recommend it to anyone unless they're really seriously thinking about, well, trying to, you know, expand the size of their Winter Village collection. I don't know if I'd recommend you go out and buy this one specifically, because I think that the building itself is one of the less impressive ones from the Winter Village line. I mean, it's cool to have a bakery, and I think that that belongs in a Winter Village, but it doesn't look as visually interesting as, say, the post office or the toy shop. And it's not nearly as large as the cottage. The Winter Village Market, you know, is a little bit more interesting too. But I think that what this does is it, and by market I mean the carousel, but what I do think this does really well is create kind of a little town. You know, it's got a lot to it, and it kind of gives you more than just the building, which I think was important at this time, because this was the second entry into the Winter Village line, and before that there was just just a toy shop and that's it. So I think that, you know, having a second building as well as all this other stuff was a good move for them to make. And I do think that getting it, you know, expands your Winter Village significantly. Again, I don't know if it's worth the current going prices, but back then I would definitely have put this on the must-buy list. So, you know, take it or leave it. My advice there. I still do think that this is a great set. I'm really happy with it. And if you bought it at that price and you're holding it for some reason, sealed in the box, I'd suggest open it and build it because it's cool. But, you know, maybe look at something else if you're nowadays trying to get a Winter Village building. So, there's my advice. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know if you did in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye, everyone.